I'm Roddy Stainforth, principal at Dixie Heights High School. And like Matt, I grew up in this district. I was fortunate enough, I attended Peach Grove, I attended Twin Hawful, I attended Turkey Foot, and then eventually ended up at Dixie Heights High School where I graduated. I'm a proud alum of Dixie Heights High School. I spent the majority of my teaching career there, all but 1 year, assistant principal and now principal, and is a great sense of pride and accomplishment for me, the opportunity to lead my home. First, I want to thank the Board of Education, especially in these last couple of years when we've seen laws like Senate Bill 150 and changes in the political landscape go. As a leader of a public school, it's reassuring to know that we have a board that has our back and we're not fighting that fight alone and we have to go out there by ourselves. We have a board that cares about the instructional resources. We have a central office. It's reassuring knowing that we're going at that with a team and not by ourselves. I told you my connection with Kenton County School District, which makes our rating at Dixie Heights, it hurts. It's very, very personal to me. It's something I take very, very personally. While Dr. Webb mentioned the KSA is one test, it's one data point. And when you look at it, we are labeled low, but when you look at it, we didn't actually score low in any category. We scored 3 mediums and 3 highs. However, with the change indicator, that puts us in the low category. Regardless of how we got to a low category, this is one data point that has Dixie Heights listed as low, and I'm not okay with that. It doesn't matter what the measure is. We want to be at the top of every measure, and that's something that hurts. That hurts. And when I look at it, the hard truth is we're labeled low, but 65% of the KSA is standards-based. It's 45% for math and reading. It's 20% for science, social studies, and writing. So 65% is standards-based, and we scored medium in both of that. So forget the color orange and forget all that. We scored medium or average on standard basis, the most important piece of that assessment, and that is not good enough. That is not good enough. We've dove into the data. We've looked at the data through every which lens. We've surveyed students, we've surveyed teachers, we've looked for every answer, looked under every rock, and we've come up with a couple areas that we think are really held us back with last year's class. One, culture surrounding the KSA. Our kids, in surveying our kids, in meeting with our kids, they place more emphasis on the ACT and AP testing, and there's been some misconceptions with the culture around the KSA. Culture in the building falls on the principal. That falls on my shoulders, and that's something that I have to address, and we are addressing immediately. Alignment. We found some areas where we're a little bit out of alignment. We're looking at all of our courses, our maps, our writing techniques, looking at everything. There's areas where we can be more aligned, and probably a better word would be calibrated amongst our teachers, so all teachers are assessing and grading at the same level. And that takes us to our biggest area of focus is going to be our day-to-day assessment of our students. We need to know where they're at every day in that class so we can adjust real-time instruction. We can't wait till summative assessments to find out where they are. We need to know where they're at during that class period. So moving forward, how we're going to address these things. Fix this mic here. I'll lose my time. Yeah, hold that for me. I'll lose my time. Thank you. First, we need to make a fundamental shift from teaching to learning. There's a big difference between teaching and learning. And I asked my teachers, if the students didn't learn it, well, did we actually teach it? And that's a question. So we need to get away from compliance and kids turning in homework to mastery of standards. And we need to understand what are our assessments and our grades actually measure. When we look at the data, when we look at the grades, what is it telling us? Is it telling us that the kids understand that material, or is it telling us they're just good kids that do what they're told? We need to know where their level of understanding are. With that, we're going to place the 4 questions in any PLC and ILT are: question 1, what do you want students to know? 2, how do you know they learned it? 3, what do you do when they don't learn it? And 4, what do you do with the kids that already learn it? We think we got a good idea of question 1, what we need the kids to learn, and we have great curriculum maps that have gone through with our district consultants. Our focus is going to be on question 2 and question 3. How do we know the kids know it? How do we know they know it? And what are we doing with them if they don't know it? So all of our focus moving forward is going to go into these daily assessments and these daily pulse checks to understand where our students at so we can adjust real time. Next, we're gonna really focus on shared accountability. Our goal is to be blue. We're not gonna get the blue with the principal yelling in a bullhorn, talking to everybody. If we're gonna get the blue, it's gotta come from the ground up, and everybody has to be accountable. The principal needs to be accountable, teachers need to be accountable, students need to be accountable, the parents need to be involved in it. So we're creating a process of shared accountability. One of the things we created this year is a guiding coalition. So far, we have 27 members on our guiding coalition. Every ILT in our building, every teacher ILT subject matter is represented. And anytime there's a barrier in our building or there's a problem with assessments or a curriculum, we're going to attack it together. It's not just going to be coming from the top. Solutions are going to come from the ground up, and we're going to attack it together so there's a 100% buy-in from everybody, because it's going to be built by Dixie, by our people in our building. With that guided coalition, we've settled in on 3 huge rocks that we're committed to. Number 1, we're focused on learning. We're not focused on teaching, we're focused on learning, getting there. 2, we need to operate as a high-functioning collaborative teams. We can't have teachers going on their own way, working on islands. It needs to be, they're all our students. Every student, it's all of our students. It's not just the kids in your class, it's all of our students. So we got to work as a high-functioning collaborative teams. And 3, we need to be results-oriented. Just getting through the material is not enough. Just saying we got to the end of a curriculum map is not enough. We got to be results inventory. Lastly, with our solutions, we are going to evaluate and run an inventory and evaluation on every one of our systems and structures. We're looking at our schedule, our vertical alignment, our data analysis, grading policies, how we're using our intervention time. Everything is on the table for discussion to make sure we're using it effectively and doing it to the best of our ability. With all that said, what we're going to do, I do need to note, while it is true we are a low school, we are orange, it is also true that we had a lot of success. First, I want to talk about the relationships in our building. Dixie Heights, 8th of traditional high schools in attendance. Our graduation rate, top 20% in the state of Kentucky of all schools. Our transition readiness, 95% CBAS. Our quality of school climate and safety, top 20% in the state of Kentucky. That's all schools in there. So our kids are coming to school. They like coming to school, and they're building relationships with our teachers. So we got good things going there. When we talk about some of our minority success and gap success, our EL learner progress, 6th in the state of Kentucky among eligible schools. African Americans combined writing, 8th in the state of Kentucky. African Americans in KSA math, 9th in the state of Kentucky. African Americans in ACT composite score, 6th in the state of Kentucky. EL ACT math, 1st in the state of Kentucky. EL ACT composite, 6th in the state of Kentucky. EL ACT, 9th in the state of Kentucky. When you look at our overall English, reading, math, science, and composites, top 20% in the state of Kentucky, and we're getting there. So we are a high-achieving school. We have some areas that we need to fix and we need to go after, and we are going to go after them with a laser-like focus. Was that yellow or red?
That was yellow.
That was yellow? All right, thank you. All right, here we go. So we understand our role. We understand our role in society. We have a responsibility to society to put kids out there that are ready to contribute. We also know where we're located in Edgewood, we're competing with a lot of schools. We're competing with Covcath. We're competing with Notre Dame. We're competing with Beechwood. We're competing with St. Henry. What we do matters and how we perform matters. We know that, and we take that very, very serious. Because of that responsibility, we're not going to lie to ourselves. We're self-aware, we're honest with our situation, and we will own our shortcomings. With that said, we're going to have a systematic attack on all of our weaknesses. We're going to listen to what the data is telling us, and we will have a growth mindset, and we will be better. We will be better. I promise that.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Rust. I'm the principal at Scott High School, and this is my 28th year in education and my 9th year in Kenton County. 6 years as a teacher, 2 as an administrator, and 1 as the principal. I just had 20 years between my 8th year and my 9th year. So, and I want to thank Dr. Webb for giving me the call and giving me the opportunity to come back to Scott. As many of you know, I'm a graduate of Scott, and it means a great deal to me and my family, and I'm proud to be here. So I'm going to start off with our points of pride. So we're very proud of the fact that all of our ACT subscale scores, our overall composite score, and the percentage of students meeting benchmark in English language arts, math, and reading all increased. All those increased in 2022-23, which, you know, for me, that's kind of like the summative assessment for kids was as they exit high school and move on, hopefully successfully, to something new and greater as they go into adulthood. Scott is no longer in TSI status, which we're also very proud of. Scott's students with disabilities were designated as having made a significant increase in the change indicator in math and reading, improving from a 2021-22 status score of 14.9 to a status score of 24.7 for a 9.8 point increase. That was reading and math improvements for students with disabilities. Graduation rate increased 4.8 points from 87.2% to 92%, and our transition readiness has increased from 56.3% in 2021 to 83.3% in 21-22 to 91.07 in 22-23 based on the CBAS model. So really proud of those things. As we go through our objectives on our CSIP, things we're not very proud of. Our reading, math, and science proficiency for all students all declined this past year. However, our math is still performing above the state average, and our science is still performing above the state average as well. Science is very strange. Science as a state in high school, the overall proficient and distinguished last year for high school students was 15%, which is not very high, and it fell to 7%. Which is just unbelievable. And ours went from 10 to 8%. So just very strange things going on with science assessment. But we dropped 2%. The state dropped 8 percentage points in science as an assessment. So we got to really look at science. Implementation and impact. Our writing, social studies, and reading scores all improved, proficient and distinguished for all students. All students in writing and social studies improved our proficiency and distinguished. In writing, we went from 44% to 51% proficient distinguished. In social studies, we went from 34% to 40% proficient distinguished. And both of those performances were above the state average. So proud of those things as well. Our students with disabilities in reading increased 9 points. But however, we're still below the state average, which was a 14% proficient distinguished. In math, our students with disabilities improved as well, but only to 9%. We went from 3% in 21-22 to 9% proficient distinguished in 22-23, and we're still 2 points below the state average of 11% proficient distinguished. And our reading students with disabilities not students with disabilities, our EL population of students did not improve. We've got, I think, 8 students, so it really wasn't reported on the school report card, but we do have 8 students, did have 8 students that were ELL students, and they did not make enough growth on the test this past year. Overall, our objective was met in our SE social emotional learning. We had 83% of students agree, this is from the previous year, we had 83% of students agree that there's at least one adult who will listen to them if they have something to say. That was last year. This year it increased to 92%. So our goal was met on that. We happy to see that kind of growth, and that means that teachers are starting to engage with the kids and make sure that they're there to meet them where they are and address them when they have needs. Transition readiness increased. We met our goal there. Increased 7.77 points from 83.3% to 91.07, as I mentioned in our positives, and our graduation rate also increased. It increased 4.8 points from 87.2 to 92%, and both of those are both above the state average. So pretty proud of those outcomes as well. So we've got some work to do as we move into the growth pieces. As we mentioned, our in reading and math for our students with disabilities, we did have some growth. We also had some reductions in novices. So our math students, novices were reduced, and for all students, it's better than the state average. The novice was reduced for all students in reading, and this resulted in the change rating of being blue, which we're very proud of. It showed a significant increase. However, it's not good enough. Our proficient and distinguished is only at 41% in reading and at 35% in math. Those are both below the district average and the state. Those have to improve. Reading for students with disabilities at 9%, and math percentage and distinguished for students with disabilities at 9%. Both are also below the district average. We need to move on those. So how are we going to work on those? So first of all, we need some fidelity to the co-teaching process, and really what I've seen is that we really need to make sure that the special education teachers are deeply embedded in the ILT process, and they're working with their grade level counterparts or subject level counterparts part so that when we're talking about Algebra 1, the special ed teachers working with the Algebra 1 teachers to make sure that we are being successful moving forward. When we're in English 1, English 2, that the special ed teachers that are working collaboratively with those core teachers, that they're all working together. So the special ed teacher is not out on an island by themselves, but they're embedded in that instructional learning team, and that they're working together to bring not only all students, but also students with disabilities together moving forward collaboratively. I do want to thank the board. Last month you approved the purchase through contract of IXL as a reading program desperately needed for us. We've got some kids that are behind in reading. In math, we have some kids that are behind in reading as well, and we've implemented the Read 180 program. But your help for us to buy the IXL math program is going to be very beneficial for our students. I thank you for that. So we've just begun that. We've modified our fly schedule, which is our RTI period, our period in the middle of the day. We've got a 30-minute period we can work with kids, and we're going to embed some additional programming there to assist them, and that will help move some students along with reading and math. We're also going to focus our learning, walk, and observation feedback to focus on rigorous instruction. We want to make sure that the instruction being provided in the classroom are rooted in the standards, and we want to make sure that we are being successful as we implement those moving forward, that they also are tied very closely with the instruction being provided, and then also we have the assessments are going to match as well. So that's reading and math. Social studies, and I'm running out of time already, but the goal here really is we're going to work on high rigorous instruction. We want to make sure that the teachers are getting good feedback, that they're working together, that they're working collectively towards the goals of standards, good instruction, and good assessment, and that we've got clear expectations and they're working together. What else I have on here I want to share with you? GAP, we're going to continue working. We mentioned that with special ed students. EL progress, we don't have many students, but I want to make sure that the teachers are clear about the PSPs for the kids that they're working with, that they know what they need to do, and to take advantage of the district supports. There's lots of good supports that you've provided and invested. We want to make sure we take advantage of those. And that's the end of my time, and I thank you for it.
Thank you to the Board of Education for allowing me the opportunity to speak about Simon Kenton today. I'm Craig Reinhardt, principal. It's my 4th year there as the principal role. I remain proud to serve as the principal of Simon Kenton. And our independence and our Southern Kenton County community remain strong and supportive of our school. We strive every day to make Simon Kenton the best place it can be. In fact, the school I walked into in August 2001, my first year of teaching, is almost completely different today, with the exception of the great support of our community. According to released state data, Simon Kenton was the 11th largest high school in the state last year. Despite this, we were 18th out of those 227 schools in attendance rate, 22nd in percentage of students who were chronically absent on the good end, and our students rated us extremely high on the survey of climate and safety, landing us in the top 20% of all schools in this area. Finally, our graduation rate remained high, over 96%, coupled with a really low dropout rate being less than 0.5%. That shows that kids are finishing school. Additionally, 96% of our classroom teachers returned this school year, allowing our school to maintain growth with a quality staff. These 4 factors, attendance, student surveys, graduation rate, and staff retention, paint a picture of a school where students want to be and are successful. To continue this process, we've implemented a new SEB curriculum for Tier 1 this year. We also met 2 times per week to make sure we name and claim our students that struggle with attendance and engage families. Because of the structures we put in place, we didn't have many surprises with KSA. But when the KSA comes out, I always like to compare our scores to the large county schools in northern Kentucky. The 4 Boone County schools, 3 Kenton County schools, and Campbell County High School are the closest in our population regionally and demographically. And our reading and math combined indicator was in the top half of the state and 3rd of those 8 schools. We are still striving to improve in this area, and we are utilizing our new comprehensive resources of StudySync for English Language Arts, thank you for that, and Desmos for Algebra 1, with more courses to follow in math when they are available by the company. Our Science, Social Studies, and Writing Index was also in the top half of all the high schools in the state, and a special recognition for writing is in order, as our students were in the top 25% of the state and first among the 8 county schools in northern Kentucky. Also, we made fantastic growth in reading among students with disabilities. We are attempting to improve in this area more by frequent analysis of formative assessments and through analysis of data on district common assessments. We're continuing to work on improving our post-secondary readiness percentage. We did improve this last year according to the Kentucky criteria of 88.5. While this landed our school in the green range and third among the 8 Northern Kentucky County schools, it's in the lower one half of the state, and our entire region is just lower in that area. To combat this, we've expanded our school workplace readiness and career internship program by doubling the number of students who participate. The program we had already meets the state criteria, so we did not have to change any of it other than have more kids register. Kentucky has made this career internship a single indicator for post-secondary readiness this year, so we should be able to augment our already good college readiness numbers with additional career-ready students. For ACT scores, the percentage of student at benchmark increased in all 4 subject areas from March 22 to March 23. Also, our average ACT score increased in English and math from 2022 to 2023. Unfortunately, our school fell in the yellow rating this year. Our overall indicator rating in 2021 was 68.4, and this year we fell to a 68.2. While we basically had the same score as last year, the cut scores were adjusted by the state to make our score fall in the yellow range. We're going to be working diligently to raise this back to green status. Despite this rating, we were second out of the 8 Northern Kentucky County high schools in our overall accountability index. A major point of celebration, however, is the removal of the TSI status. Last year, we were labeled as TSI for student with disabilities. However, our KSA scores for students with disabilities increased to the point we are no longer TSI. This was a long road for us, and we worked hard to eliminate TSI status, so it is a big point of pride for our students and our staff. While removing this label is great, the more important part of this idea is that our students with disabilities are being more successful and given more opportunities. We will continue our focus on effective co-teaching, including intentional walks and collaborative and resource classes. In non-KSA news, we continue to improve our transition readiness according to the CBAS model. Due to our efforts over the past few years with promoting transition readiness, we have 91% of our seniors already transition ready before completing school-to-work programs, Coyote assessments, and career technical education classes. Moreover, 74% of our 9th through 11th grade students, sorry if this clipped my page, are already transition ready. This speaks to the preparation they have received not just at Simon Kenton, but through our feeder pattern schools as well, since we work together as a school system. We have 72 students participating in the YSA program at NKU. I can speak to the effectiveness of this program as a school administrator, but also as a parent, as I have one in the program currently and one accepted to this program for next year. That is 72 students that will either earn an associate's or 2 years towards their bachelor's degree by the time they walk across the stage. We have several other students who take dual credit classes all day off campus outside of the YSA program, 10 participating in the aviation program at Cincinnati State through the airport, where they'll graduate with an industry certification. And finally, we have 17 students completing Pathways at Gateway half of the day. These students will also earn industry certifications in high school. Thank you to the board for your support on these programs. Our one-to-one technology initiative is also going strong thanks to the support of the board in providing a device to all students. I feel as though we see a great mix of technology and traditional methods being used in classrooms today, which will help prepare students for 21st century economy. Our teachers are frequently using Schoology to organize lessons and assessments, and our students increasingly rely on this resource to help with their organization. This will translate for those who are moving on to college, as Schoology mimics some of the functionality of Canvas or other programs that colleges use. Our major focus this year still includes instructional leadership teams, or ILTs, that meet every Tuesday to plan lessons, assessments, and interventions for students that demonstrate a need for additional support. This includes collaborative special ed teachers due to the common planning that we have in our master schedule. This additional support does not result in gains sometimes, so our students progress through the MTSS process to get additional support outside of the classroom. Staff participates in ongoing professional development through our professional learning communities, PLCs, every other Thursday. This allows teachers to have access to new teaching techniques and to improve their process of teaching. Also exposes our staff to the resources and initiatives available in our district. Another major component of our school improvement is to complete and analyze our PPR walk data. At each month's end, we analyze the data from these walks, support teachers that demonstrate a need for additional support, and plan for ongoing professional development to address school-wide trends. We have a special focus on analyzing data that involves our students with disabilities during these times. We have a flourishing arts program where several students annually place in regional art contests, We have an agriculture program that's seen a resurgence with all classes filled with students interested in agriculture, and we'll be completing an industry pathway. We have an increased presence with chorus, with over 60 students now participating. Our athletic programs and academic team are going strong, with teams and students qualifying for awards and postseason experiences. Finally, our band has won several awards already this season. All of these extra pieces of the school contribute to a good school climate. Once again, thank you to the board for your support of our school, our staff, our community, and most importantly, our students, the future leaders in our area. While our community understands we have some areas for growth, I believe that together we will have some systems in place to do so. To my neighbors in Independence and Southern Kenton County, thank you for the opportunity to serve in this position, and to our students past and present, thank you for your part in making Simon Kenton a great place to be. I'll conclude with Go Pioneers.